Hello, everybody, and welcome back. The first video of Chapter 8. I hope everybody's doing great. I hope everybody's doing their part, keeping close to home and social distancing if you have to go out. I know my kids are getting kind of bored with it and have been bored with it, and they're kind of mad at me because I don't really let them hang out with their friends, and I can't hang out with my friends either. Um, so that's kind of doing our part, and the more we do that, the more people will get back. The sooner people will get back to work, and the sooner we'll get back to normal. So, hope everybody's kind of doing their part there, and I hope everybody's well. Let's talk about genuine agreement. All right, genuine agreement. We know when a valid acceptance, a valid offer meets a valid acceptance. It's a meeting of the minds. That's a genuine agreement. You have what I want. And so it's a meeting of the minds. We enter into a formal agreement or I have what you want, and we enter into some kind of formal agreement, whether it's person to person, business to business, business to person, doesn't matter. A genuine agreement is a valid offer meeting a valid acceptance. However, we wouldn't have a dedicated chapter to this if there weren't problems associated with it, and that's why we talk about this chapter separately, because there's problems that come up. Sometimes you're bound by contracts, and sometimes you might not be bound by contracts. But let's take a look and see what this chapter has coming for us. These are the things we're going to be talking about: circumstances that might create a defective agreement. And so the chapter is going to be broke up in 3 videos. The first video is going to be this one: mistakes. The next chapter is going to be fraud, because fraud is prevalent in our society, people trying to rip another person off. All right. The third video is going to be misrepresentation, which is a form of fraud, duress, and undue influence. So it'll be 3 videos. Mistakes will be this first video. Fraud will be a second video. And misrepresentation, duress, and undue influence will be its own video. So look forward to those three videos. All right, let's talk about mistakes. All right, there are unilateral mistakes and there are bilateral mistakes. Unilateral mistakes are an error. One of the parties in the contract makes an error, right? They screw up something, somehow, something, some number, some whatever the case may be, is a unilateral mistake. Usually, a person can't get out of a unilateral mistake. You're bound by it. And this is an example. If somebody bids to build something, like I have people come and bid my driveway that I'm going to have paved. This is $5,000, right? One guy came in and said $5,000. Another guy came in and said, "Oh, I can do it for $1,500. It won't be too hard." Well, if he made a mistake as to the number, and that's the number we agreed upon, we're bound to that. He's bound to that, right? If it costs him $2,000 to do the job, well, guess what? We agreed on a certain price. That's your loss, right? He can't get out of that contract. And that's the way it goes sometimes. Like, take a school building project, right? If all these companies go in and say, "Oh, we can build the school addition for $4.5 million. We can build it for $4.8 million." Another company comes in and says, "Oh, we can do it for $2.4 million. Well, they didn't realize that there was asbestos removal. And you take the lowest bid, of course, right? You're going to take a school would have to take the lowest bid. Well, somebody made a mistake in calculations on the part of the company, the construction company. Well, they'd be bound to do that, if somebody made that kind of mistake. So that's an example of a unilateral mistake. Another type of unilateral mistake is a mistake as to the nature of an agreement. If you don't understand the agreement, you're still bound to it. If you don't understand it, and it's a written agreement, and you've signed it, that's a mistake on your part, right? You're bound to a written agreement if you've signed it. What if you haven't read it? Tough luck. If you've signed it, you're bound to it. That's why some of these written agreements that you see, And the written agreements that you and I see the most are terms of service agreements, like when you sign up for social media or something like that. Think of Facebook, right? When you sign up for Facebook, there's this terms of service agreement, and it's 5 pages long. Well, in that 5 pages, it says that Facebook has the right to sell your private information. Your name, your address, how many kids you have, what your posts are, what your political preference is, what your income is if they can find that out, what you search for on there most usually, and they sell that information to other companies so they can target you, right? That's what you're signing. Well, if you haven't read it and you haven't agreed to it, or you haven't read it and you've clicked that I accept the terms of use, it's just like signing your name, right? You're bound to it. That's how Facebook makes their money. That's how all these places, all these online social media things make their money. They sell your info, right? So that's one of the most common types of mistakes as to the nature of the agreement. You think you're just signing up because you wanted to post fun pictures with your friends and family. Well, not really. That's not what it is. It's that way they make money is to sell your information, right? So read the contract. If you don't understand it, make sure you don't have to sign it right there. Bring it to somebody who says, and whatever the case may be, not even social media, any type of contract that you sign. If you don't understand it, read it first. If you don't understand it, bring it to somebody who does. Especially if you're talking about a major purchase or a major event in your life where it's a contractual agreement. Make sure somebody understands that and can read that for you. Mistake as to the identity of the party. This is a unilateral mistake too. If you're dealing face to face, then that may void the contract. But let me give you an example. There is another person who lives locally with the same first name, same middle name, and same last name as me. Right? From time to time I get mail and I get deliveries for that person because we have the same name. Well, there was a delivery that I got from this person who has the same name as me, does like piercings and tattoos. Well, that was obviously delivered to the wrong person with the same name, so that contract was then voidable because it was a mistake as to the identity of the party. I don't do piercings or tattoos. Never found a tattoo that I wanted permanently on my body. That's the problem. I had my ear pierced once, but my grandfather threatened to rip it out of my head, so that didn't last very long either. So that's unilateral mistakes. Here's bilateral mistakes. Bilateral mistakes are mistakes by two parties, both parties entering into the agreement. And there's two types of bilateral, and there's different types of bilateral mistake. One is the mistake as to the possibility of performance. For example, the sale of a totaled car. I'll give you an example. I had a buddy in college, and he drove this very cool Corvette, red Corvette, and it was a sweet car. And his father, I guess, had some money. I don't know why we called the guy Dopey Dave. I don't know why his father would let him drive that thing. But anyways, Dopey Dave got all upset one day because his father had sold the car and he had to go bring it home. Well, Dopey Dave got mad and drove fast and wrapped that car around a tree that night and totaled it. Guess what? No car. Both of the parties were mistaken as to the availability of the car because it was no longer available. So that was the possibility of performance, because the subject matter, the car, was gone, totaled, had zero value. Another type of bilateral mistake is a mistake of what the subject matter is. Buying land on Prospect Street You thought it was Prospect Avenue. A lot of time we can do these now. We can buy land wherever we want. I can go on Zillow.com or Realtor.com, boom, and buy land and property and things like that. And sometimes, the subject matter is wrong. It doesn't happen too often, but I mean, it's a possibility and it's good to know about. So two types of bilateral, two examples of bilateral mistakes are impossibility of performance and the mistake as to the subject matter. And that's it. That's it for this chapter. So if you have any questions, stay in contact with me, please. Please stay in contact with me. Shoot me a note once in a while. Say, hey, Mr. LePan, great video. Or something like that. Or, Mr. LePan, you need a haircut. Since I haven't shaved or trimmed my beard since March, whatever day we got out of school. But that's coming due because I can't stand it any longer. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are getting some exercise in. Hope you guys are exercising your bodies and your brains. And I hope you're social distancing. And I miss you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.